All right. There are a lot of board games, card games with this Alice in Wonderland theme, and we like them. We played Wonderland's War. We like that.
Loved it.
But what makes them different? Why does this theme keep coming back? There's also a lot of two-player games, and too many, right? To just, have them all or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we just played both a two-player game and an Alice in Wonderland game, and we're going to talk about it now. So, Reflections in the Looking Glass. First of all, what's at its core? We're not going to tell you how the whole thing's played. There are other videos for that.
Check one of those out instead.
Yeah. But what's at this game's core is that it's a two-player game. Okay. It's this kind of tactical back and forth. You've got some drafting, kind of. Connor's going to talk about the twist that happens with that. But you're also collecting sets. But that gets pretty specific, and you want certain numbers or your score gets all screwed up. At the end of the game, it doesn't matter, end of a round, I should say. It doesn't matter if you had a really high positive score or you had a really low negative score. It's absolute scoring.
Yeah.
So whoever got the furthest away from zero is going to take that round. First to win 3 rounds wins the game.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's at its core, but I'm sure we could think of another type of game that we just described. So what makes this different?
Yeah, we mentioned that drafting is at its core, but also you're drafting, and you're effectively drafting for your opponent too. And what I said earlier was, this is quite literally a take that game, as in, I take this, so you have to take that.
You take that.
You literally take that. And then it might hurt your opponent, it might help them. Something that I noticed was I was actually constantly looking at what you had. And I was basing a lot of my turns on trying to get you to go over, because if you collect an entire set of a character, your score will actually go down.
Well,
go
you'll go from 3, either in the negative or positive,
Yeah.
depending on what kind of card it is, which is as good as you can do with one set, back down to
the opposite one.
of the opposite, positive or negative. So you don't want to get 4 almost ever. I mean, if someone pushed you into 3, maybe you go to 4 to get that back, but that's less than ideal. And I love where you're leading with that is it gets me to the idea of this game, to me, is tense tactics disguised as simple strategy. Okay, it's tense tactics disguised as simple strategy. What I mean by that is, if you show this game to someone, they're going to get it pretty quick, right? Oh, okay, so I take a card, you have to take the other card, and I'm hoping to get a lot of positives or a lot of negatives. Cool. The thing is, your strategy is not likely to work out. If you're looking at the card state or the board state at the beginning, I mean, good luck. A lot's going to change. As you see your opponent taking cards and you notice what they're doing and you're trying to guess, man, they got a lot of blues and it looks like they're going for that. Maybe I can mess with them a little bit.
Yeah.
That's where the game really lives to me.
Yeah, I agree. If you watched our playthrough just before this, you may have heard me say, I don't really think you can get your strategy going until about 4 turns in.
Yeah.
And then 4 turns later, it might be totally shot.
Which is, to me, the definition of tactics, right? There were so many turns in the game where I basically said, I'm going to, sometimes your move will be, okay, well, I'm going to take Alice, and on the other side is another Alice. So we're both gaining an Alice. But I'm going to do that. I did that on my first turn one time because I was really just wanted to see him move. It's like a little bit of a staring contest where it's like, okay, we're both... As far as we know, we've got some hidden information. Let's see what he starts to go for first, and what he makes me take.
Yeah.
Again,
the reflection part of it, if it's the same card on the either side, it can go one of 2 ways. It can be, I just take that because it's a foregone conclusion. We're both going to get that. Or you hold it out because there's something underneath it that you either don't want your opponent to have, or you want them to unlock it for you so that you can take what's underneath it on your next turn.
There's really so much more going on here than what meets the eye when you take a quick glance, right? So, you can probably tell we're a little bit excited. We enjoyed this.
We liked it.
But we want to talk a little bit about both what worked and what whiffed. And we're generally positive guys.
Yeah.
Let's start with what whiffed so we can end on what worked,
Yeah,
right?
let's end on a high note.
As far as what whiffed, I think we both have the same thing. And here's the thing. I won't say whiffed because it's so key to the game.
The scoring system, which is, as you can see, you've got yellow cards, which are suns, blue cards, which are moons. They're always opposite as far as scoring goes. So if you have one character of a yellow card, it's going to be +1 or -1.
One yellow is +1, one blue is -1.
And they literally alternate like that the whole time. So +1 yellow, 2 is -2.
Yeah.
On the other side, 2 blue is +2. And trying to figure that out and trying to get that system cracked and remember is pretty difficult. I was constantly referring to the scoring card in the middle of the game.
I think I would need these for a long time. And I'd want to play this again and again with the same person would be awesome. But I think I would need to have these a lot longer than I tend to need to have player aids or reminders of scoring in other games. Like you said, we say it whiffed, and yet it's so central to what the game is. It's what makes the game interesting, intense. It's just a side effect of that is, man, you're kind of going back a little bit. There's like a little lack of confidence that like, wait, do I really know what I need here? Oh, I got to look at this again.
I think this game is interesting because that seems to be true. Both of the things that whiffed for me, and the second thing is kind of the AP nature of it. There were some turns that were very obvious where it's like, yes, I need that. I want him to take that because it makes him go over, or I can see what he's collecting. And then there were turns where I was just sitting there trying to math it out. And so it's like, this is just cards on a table. Why is this such a hard decision? And yet that's so central to the game too, because there is more than meets the eye, as exactly as you were saying. So without that, it's kind of like, but what is this without the tactical, difficult decisions?
As far as what worked, I know you were going to talk a little bit about, in a lot of games, that's why, again, I think it's more tactics than strategy. In a lot of games, you kind of figure out your strategy. Maybe at the beginning of the game, you're dealt a card that gives you like a little private goal to go for, and that helps you create a strategy that you go for the whole game. This one lets you, and even probably demands, that you're going to switch it up.
Yeah, there were all of the games that we played on and off camera. I pretty much switched halfway through the round.
One time you switched twice.
Yeah, that didn't work out for me.
It doesn't feel like the way to go.
Pro tip, don't flip-flop twice. No, I think in every game it was pretty much, and I was kind of forced to, and that's part of the cool nature of this game is it doesn't hurt. The game ends. You could have had one strategy, totally flip, and that could work out for you, or it couldn't. But if it didn't, it doesn't hurt because the round lasted 5 minutes, and you're on to the next one. And sometimes it doesn't even feel like your fault. It feels like you were forced into something that you couldn't plan for, or sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, we played multiple rounds of this, and there were rounds where the person who won, or actually, there was the first round we played, our strategies soared, and I think I beat you 16-15, right? So both of us just, hey, look at that. It's, a race to who can do the best. The very next round was like a rock fight, and both of us, and it was kind of like when I realized that my strategy could not work, I needed to just kind of muddy stuff up for you.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this game really shines, where it's like, if your strategy works out in any game, that's a feel-good moment. When your engine gets going or whatever it is, this is a game where like your, like an engine, but your initial, your best laid plans might absolutely bomb, but it doesn't mean you're just out. If we're still in the round, you're looking at your opponent. Can I make their 3 turn into a 4? Can I do some little guerrilla war tactics? And it worked. And there's been some rounds where it was like, holy cow, I just won that. I messed stuff up for them enough at the end.
Right.
I have a theory that might just get, laughed and shot down by the internet. But we mentioned there's lots of Alice in Wonderland games. And we played Wonderland's War last week and loved it, right? But I think Tom Bassel made this joke. Alice in Wonderland themed games, and by the way, movies and stuff like that, love to have the characters in this quirky little world fight to the death. And I got so interested when I knew I was going to get my hands on Wonderland's War that I actually went out and read the 2 books because I like reading.
Get some background. Why not? Some history,
lore, and you know what? I think this is the most thematic Alice in Wonderland game that there is on the market. And the reason is, if you actually read Alice in Wonderland and, through the looking glass and stuff. It's really just a series of running into pretty disagreeable characters who are pretty rude
and
or
unhelpful,
or maybe like weeping a lot, or just different weird quirks. And you walk away kind of like, wow, I hope we don't meet them again. Or every once in a while, ooh, I hope we see them again because they seem kind of helpful. And that's this game, right? I hope I get one more Mad Hatter, or if I see one more Mock Turtle, my whole day is ruined, right? And that's what Alice in Wonderland actually feels like, versus, people at war and things like that. Love that game. I think in a very weird, almost passive-aggressive way, this is Alice in Wonderland. Oh, there's another interesting character. I'm all set. Don't want to see them ever again.
Yeah, I think there's kind of this idea that Alice in Wonderland is this big played-up universe, when at the core of the books, what you were telling me is it's actually pretty simple. I mean, they're children's books.
They're children's books
these long, drawn-out
with fun
novels.
characters. And to that end, I mean, who were some of your favorite characters that we came across today? Because we should just mention quick, we like the art.
The art
think
is
it's
awesome.
Fun. We think it's really
the art
fun.
is awesome. At first, I really loved the Mock Turtle. He had some kind of like
So
donkey
sad.
ears. He was very sad.
Sad boy.
But I think my favorite art in there was probably the caterpillar. He was super cool.
Jabba the Caterpillar.
Jabba the cat. he was super chill. But he had a lot of detail. I liked the Cheshire Cat. I know that was something that you were going to mention too.
I always like seeing what an artist is going to do with the Cheshire Cat. Actually, the Tim Burton movies, I think that Cheshire Cat's really cool. And I always want to see what they're going to do with the Jabberwocky, because there's precious little description of the Jabberwock actually in the stories. And this one has buck teeth, and I think that's adorable.
He's a lot cuter in this game than
That's
in the other games.
So if you're not familiar with our channel, the way we like to do reviews is not, is this game good or did we like this game? Because in a way, who cares? We would rather kind of give an idea of who would play that. We tend to believe that most games are, for someone, right? Oh, this game's terrible. That's for someone, right? Or this game's amazing. Well, maybe not for everyone, though. Maybe it wouldn't pull out in every situation. So again, what we tend to do is beginners, intermediates, which we kind of call your cool friends. They're cool with a game night, but they're also maybe a little too cool for, Twilight Imperium Saturday.
Right. Your gamers.
Then we have your people for Twilight Imperium Saturday, which is your big time gamers. They love the hobby. They're into it. And then aside from those two, we kind of say a partner, like a one person who you can play games with quite often.
Boyfriend, girlfriend, close
roommate,
friend, coworker.
Yeah.
And your family. That's our fifth one.
And then your family. And that one's always kind of been a moving target, but we basically say, holidays, getting together with your family of origin, everyone, what are we going to do? Do I bust this game out or not?
Yeah.
So let's get to it, and let's start with that last one, family.
Yeah. I personally think that with the simplicity of this, with the rules teach, the cutesy art, and like I said, it could go either way, right? Maybe you're breaking this out with one of your young cousins and you're not trying to absolutely thrash them and you just want it to be a nice game. Or maybe you're playing this with your sibling that you've got a rivalry with, and it can kind of be that rock fight that you talked about. I think you can break this out with pretty much anyone in your family as long as they can handle a few basic rules and the little finickiness of the scoring. I think can be fun with just about anyone in my family. What do you think?
I thought of my nephews. They're pretty young. The oldest one's 11. And that is where I would be playing this as a simple strategy game. A lot of kids' games, family weight games, have some sort of randomness that's like, oh, no, things went bad because I, flicked a little spinner and it didn't land on my number, right? So the times in this game where you get one card too many or they take the card you want, even though you are playing an opponent, would almost feel like, oh, shucks, like that messed up my strategy. But yeah, as a simple strategy game, yes, for family.
Yeah, I like it too.
How do you feel? Let's skip for a second. Let's go to those cool friends in the middle. Intermediates, just kind of, they're intrigued by maybe some of what's on your shelf.
They've played some gateway games.
They're now they know some games. They maybe even have some of their favorites. But they do still maybe look at some of the boxes on your shelf and go, hey, I don't know about that. So what would they think about something like this?
I think that people would love it. I think this could kind of be a game where you maybe have a tournament of, we're putting on a Reflections in the Looking Glass tournament. And you might expect a wide array of people there, right? Maybe people that have been playing it their whole lives, or maybe people who have just gotten into it and just happen to be really good at it. So I think the cool friends, or maybe those intermediate players, this would work really well for them, actually, because it's so quick. I think intermediate players would love it just as much as anyone might.
I think so too. I think we always say, even these are pretty broad brush categories. So know the person you're trying to introduce this to. And I'm going to say this will kind of go into my answer on beginners. You know, if you know these kind of cool friend players, if you know what sort of games they like drafting or set collection or something like that, you already know that ahead of time, for sure show this to them. But I do also think of the cool friends category. I don't know why I think of more group games, just like almost like a social atmosphere. I don't know. Beginner, I am not going to say no on this. Again, you can go back to that simple strategy. But if I'm truly trying to introduce someone to games and how awesome they can be, that scoring is a little bit of a hang up for me. And what really, and I know I'm kind of covering a lot here all at once, what's really interesting to me is, despite this being a small box card game, I think that this is a game for gamers. I think that people who really love games and love seeing how clever a design can be are going to find themselves looking at this and going, Alice in Wonderland cartoon art. Okay, you just take a card, it almost feels random because things didn't go my way. And I think the more they play it, they're going to see like, oh, there's real cleverness to this design and just a lot to chew on. So I just hit like 3 all at once. So
no.
Beginners and
I agree with you. I think honestly, for me, I think this game sings at all 5 levels for different reasons. And we'll get into talking about, partner, spouse, whatever. Because you can play it in so many ways. It's so quick. You could play you can do best of 3, you can do best of 5. You can play one round and just see who wins, and that could work for a beginner.
You called it an airport game earlier?
Airport game, yeah. I also like to use this term book club game, which is like, it's a game I could play with the same person or the same group over and over and over again and really not get tired of it. And for that reason, for me, it works in all 5 categories, but for really different reasons. I feel like most of the games we review, there's usually these main reasons why beginners and family are ruled out, and those the reason it works for gamers doesn't happen to be the reason that it rules out those other 2 categories. Like there's a way that the game can shift. It's very versatile for being.
I like that. It's a flexible game. You can almost play it different ways with the same rule set and everything else. You're not changing what the game is, but you can sit back with a 10-year-old nephew and say, hey, you take that and I have to take this, and we'll see how our scores are at the end. Or you could sit down with the same person over and over again. And I think let's go there, right? Let's talk about the partner couple, because we both have played a lot of games with, so you and Taylor. What are some of the hallmark games? As we said it this way, they almost feel like they're a part of your relationship. You guys have played them so much.
Well, I've pulled one of them out here in the front. It's Fox in the Forest. That's one we played over and over again. Paris is also one that we're getting into. I picked up my own copy of Paris a few months ago.
Has she played it yet?
Yeah, she played it a couple times. She really likes it.
Awesome.
It definitely feels like a game we could get more into. 2 of them are right here. We've got a whole list of games. What about you and Riley?
Oh yeah, well, Riley wanted me to point out that, and we'll talk about this in our podcast we're about to do with the book club theme. She is the reason why I ever play games more than once, which is a little rude, but I resemble that remark. She wants to learn a game and play it and play it and play it, and I think she's right to. We've explored games like Shobu, games like Azul and Res Arcana, a seemingly simple game like Boop that is actually a ton of fun and a little thinkier than you thought it would be. And so these games, there's a special quality to playing the same game over and over again with the same person. There is something special about having that, or old guys on at the park playing chess and stuff
every day,
but not just playing the game every day, playing the other player every day and learning them and things like that. And here's what I think we would both say. This could be that. This has the DNA for that sort of a thing. Where I'm not just going to start to see the game a little bit differently, maybe see, oh, that's what's coming up ahead. I'm getting better at noticing that. I'm also going to see, oh, they really like to go for those sets of 3. maybe I could, kind of death by 1,000 paper cut them with some ones and twos and not let on to what I'm doing. All that stuff is there. And I just think, we don't want to overstate it or anything, but we think this could be a game listed in those series of games that, me and my partner, me and my roommate, me and my brother, me and my whatever, we play all the time.
Taylor and I, when we first discovered Fox in the Forest, we were in New York. We played it at a little board game cafe. Got it recommended to us by the barista, and I bought a copy of it pretty much right after. Oh, another one is Spirits of the Wild. I forgot to mention that. I should have brought that with me.
And you're sponsored by Mattel, so you would have lost out on...
I missed the email. Spirits of the Wild, Fox in the Forest are games we've played literally probably 50 times each. We've just broken it out at so many different stops, and we kind of have learned each other's strategies a little bit, and they haven't gotten stale by any means, but I can see, if I had a copy of this game, Reflections in the Looking Glass, I could see that rising the ranks, because it feels so replayable. It feels so much like this is a game that Taylor and I could have on us at any point in time. Play one round, play 7 rounds, and almost keep this running tally, not of who wins, but in our relationship of like, oh, we could play Reflections in the Looking Glass while we're waiting for, our food to come on a date, or we can play it while we're kind of in between things during our weekend day, or whatever it might be. I think it's a great game. I think it works for a lot of different people, but especially that partner category, it really sings.
So we're really excited about it, but that idea of having a partner you play this with over and over and over again, that's the thing that makes us the most excited. The ability to switch up your strategy midstream, all those different things. Like, we think this game has a lot more to it than what meets the eye. So a big shout out, a big thanks to Electric Pepper Games for sending us a review copy. Coming pretty soon here, March 14th. Check it out.
Yeah, $12 price point too. You can't really be mad at that. So if you're in for a 2-player card game,
and to support an indie publisher and just new ideas in the hobby, and we think that this is that, check them out.
Yeah, pick it up. Cool.
Thanks.